Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on March 23rd, 2022 at approximately 7:41 a.m. PST. Now, to start with, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. It would be really appreciated. Apparently, it has something to do with the Yahoo algorithms. Do subscribe to the channel and remember to share it. Remember to hit that alert to let you know when the next one comes out. I do my best to come out once a day. Okay. Now, please do share this message with everybody you meet, because I return to this world, to this life, for one primary purpose, and that is to show people that we can make this a better world by that working together we can make this a better world. Now, where that starts is right here. Okay. It starts right here in your heart. Well, actually, in all fairness, it starts in the etheric level. And it's transported to your heart. And I know this is going to throw people for a loop, especially those that are trained as Reiki masters. Now, I've never been trained as a Reiki master. I've never been trained at all. I just happen to be what I consider an accelerated healer. People talk about your root chakra being down between your knees. Okay, that is not the anchor point. I don't know who came up with the idea that the chakras are all in a straight line, but the reality is they aren't, at least from what I've seen. Your anchor point is right here in the heart. That's your will center. That is where all changes take place. Because, yes, it starts up here, and people think, many of you think that you get an idea and it comes in your head. Okay. But when you actually take a look at it, you can get a thought, you can get it into your head, and you can work through it. And you'll have many false starts from what I've seen. I myself did exactly the same thing, many false starts, until you figure out that it requires this impetus, this drive right here in your heart that says, this is necessary. What I'm doing isn't working. Once that happens, all the doors kick open. Okay, now it will take time. It did not take you a half a moment to get into the state you're in. But regardless of where you are in your life, regardless of how you got there, okay, regardless of any of the differentiators between people, we are all right here, right now. And frankly, society is scrambled. Okay, very important thing to keep in mind. You cannot reclaim power over your life by giving your power or the power of other people away. Okay. The only way to regain power over your life is to reclaim it, is for you to take responsibility for your actions, for you to turn around and say, okay, this is what I did wrong. This is what I did that was ineffective. Not so much wrong, but ineffective. And before I get into it, something to keep in mind. Okay. Do your best not to blame yourself or your parents for this kind of thinking. You were trained, they did the best they could with what they had. You're doing the best you could with what you had. But society has been taught to fear everything and to pass the buck. Society has devolved over the last 2,000 years. Okay, and in all fairness, before that, but the last 2,000 is the real pertinent part. People have been taught to fear everything, their creator included. So the fact that you're banned, that you're living your life in all likelihood in fear, and yet are striving to get ahead, this is a good thing. Now, I'm not perfect by any stretch. I do not have all the answers, and I certainly cannot be successful for you. But I can tell you the way that has worked for me and for thousands of others, okay, that I've been in contact with, as to how to change the energy in your life. But it starts here, because once you get this impetus, then you can turn things around. I've known for years that my finances were a wreck. Now, I took yesterday's video, I talked about the importance of the backbone of the house. Okay, the finances. But today we're looking at the other side of it, the backbone of the home. And the backbone of the home is the heart. Okay, but we'll start. So we will get into this a little later. Right now, we're going to start changing your home life. Okay, or more to the point, you're going to start changing your home life if you choose to follow me on this journey, which I certainly hope you do. When you look at your home, the backbone of the home is quite literally the backbone is the living room. Okay, but there are three extremely important rooms in your house: your living room, your dining room, and your kitchen. Now, the first thing you look at is take a look at those three. Okay, ask yourself, are they free of clutter? Now, the family room, or the living room, if you will, is the one area where heated discussions can take place safely for the home. Okay, so we start with the obvious issue. If you have not done so already, if this is not part of your regular routine, pick one meal of the day, regardless of how old the people in your house are. Okay, unless they are physically not able to come to the table. Pick one meal of the day and sit down at the table. Turn all your electronics off. Telephone. Now, some telephones you can't shut off, but you can ignore them. So you ignore the telephone, shut the TV off, shut the radio off, shut your cell phones off, and simply take that that half an hour, whatever it takes you for breakfast or for a meal. Sit down together and have that meal. Take the time to reestablish a connection, to talk about what you're planning on doing for the day or what you've done for the day, depending on which meal you're going through. Talk about that. Let the kids talk. This idea of, kids should be seen and not heard. How are they going to learn if you don't let them voice their questions? Okay, this is something that has been forgotten. And in today's world of immediate gratification and, quite frankly, selfish self-focus, okay, is the backbone of where society has gone sideways. It is now absolutely imperative. When I start getting, from my standpoint, when I start getting calls from people that are usually really focused on moving forward, and all of a sudden they hit a brick wall going, I'm scared to death of what's happening. This is when we have to pull our heads out of the sand and really take a look around. It's time to start changing the energy in the world. This is done by reestablishing the family unit, reestablishing that communication line. Now, I'm as guilty as the next person in some ways, in many ways, in all fairness, in as much as I spend a lot of my time in my office. Okay, in my office writing, in my office doing work. Okay, I've got a 16-year-old that spends most of his time on video games, like many of your kids. It is time to take that one meal. Okay, turn that into a stable, functional routine, if you will, where you get to reconnect with the people in your home. This is a critical time for society, but it can only change if the individuals in it change. Now, much as I would love to say we'll all get along, in time we may. 40,000 years ago, mankind did. There was no greed, there was no fear. Well, there was a little bit of fear, but there was no greed, there was no war. We had peace. What wiped out society was an interesting situation of curiosity. But that's a long story in and of itself. Now, the reason I bill myself as a spiritual guide is because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally put to use. These are the same tools, the same philosophies of life that I live by. And there's only 3 laws I ever pay attention to. But before I state them, compare these to the laws you follow. whether they are family laws, societal laws, spiritual laws, religious laws, doesn't even matter. All of these fall into the same thing, same as your support group laws. All laws, all guidelines that I've ever come across fit into these three. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay, so take a look at those three laws. Those are the karmic laws. And though I cannot prove it, I know for an absolute certainty those were the first three laws that were put on the tablets. According for those of you that believe in Christ and believe in God, for what people call Christianity, the first tablets that came down did not have 10 commandments on it. They had 3. Okay, I cannot prove it, but I can tell you, if you look at the beginning of Exodus, okay, in either chapter 1 or chapter 2, don't know what verse. Okay, check it out. Don't take my word for it. Check it out. You'll find that the tablets that were brought down, nobody but Moses saw. Okay, they were shattered, and then a new set was brought down. Well, today's society is shattered. The political system is completely hooped. The educational system does not teach. The religious system has everybody's at odds with everybody else. These systems, okay, and the political system, the governmental system, these systems are good systems. They do not need to be changed. But the implementation of them and the focus of them certainly does. Okay, so we start with the home front. Start reconnecting with that family. Okay, pick just one meal. I'm not talking about changing every meal. I'm talking about one. Now, for some of your families, this is going to be challenging because it does require everybody giving a little bit of effort into it. If only one person is doing it, then it's going to take a lot longer to get the point out. Talk to your family, pick one meal of the day that you're going to sit down. Everything gets put on hold until that meal is done. Get the meal done. Okay, eat meal at the table with no electronics. When the meal is finished, everybody pitch in and help clear up from it. Get the food put away, whatever the leftovers are. Get them put away, get the dishes washed and put away. Okay, now yes, I realize this is going way back to the Dark Ages when people actually talk to each other, but that's where we have to go. What has happened is society has gone down a road that is very off track. But it's like going down a dead-end road. If you've ever been driving anywhere, you've ever gone walking someplace, and this applies in the country or the big city. Okay, you ever walk someplace, find out you've hit a dead end, and you have to double back to where you made the turn and start over. Now, society has done that. It's made a massively wrong turn. And it's time to double back and rebuild from the ground up. And the ground up is the family base. Okay. The backbone of the home in any environment is your kitchen, dining room, living room. That 3-point, and again, it just dawned on me. Society or reality works in threes. Even when you look at the configuration of the home. Okay. You've got in the dining room, the living room, and the kitchen. Okay, these are 3 critical rooms. Sometimes some of you will have these combined. Okay, you may have your living room, your kitchen and dining room connected. There's a lot of variables, but the purpose of them is the important part. Okay, and that is like I said, your dining room, your kitchen, and your living room. Now, you start off understanding that, and you start with picking one meal out of the day. Just one. Okay, in my case, I got a lot more. I usually end up eating 5 or 6. Or 1, depending on how you look at it. I'm usually starting to eat first thing in the morning, but here's the thing. As soon as I got it through my head, as soon as, well, never mind my head, as soon as I got into my heart and I got that emotional impetus, all of a sudden everything started to make sense. You will find the same thing. I am absolutely certain of this. So you start by picking that meal. Now, what do you do from there? Well, that's the easy part. Like I said, your dining room, living room, and kitchen, okay, are the absolute backbone of the home. That is where we build the family unit. Wherever you are when you get to the dining room, when you're sitting there at the dining room, take a look at the three rooms and figure out which ones do not feel right. Is everything cleared out? Is all the clutter gone out of these areas? Now, some of you are pack rats. I'm not telling you stop being a pack rat. I'm telling you that you'll feel better if you organize what you have. Okay, in my case, I grew up a pack rat. As a matter of fact, starting with my grandfather, who was born in 1902. Okay, from what I recall, he was born in 1902, and starting with him, every member of my bloodline, cousins, aunts, uncles, the whole 9 yards. Okay, and we'll start with parents as well. Every one of them was a pack rat. So the fact I developed this idea of pack ratitis and developed that tendency, I do not blame them for. That's what they grew up knowing. That's what I grew up knowing. However, I have reached the understanding that the more clutter you get rid of, keep what you have that is necessary. Like, if you look over on this shelf, these are all books that I've written. Okay. This is all stuff that I've written. Some of the tools that I'm offering here, many of them are already in books. The others are being put there. Okay. Now, I've been dealing with the consulting side of things with personal, business, UFO, UFO and metaphysical transitions, and the higher senses. I've been dealing with all of this, well, frankly, since birth, but publicly since I was 10 years old. Okay, I turned professional as in generating a income. Not much of one, but generating an income when I was 23. Okay, and the biggest thing that you have to realize is by doing that, the one thing I ended up doing, and it wasn't until my brother just passed away that it really hit me what I had done wrong, what I had overlooked. Okay, I never developed a real interest in the finances. They are necessary. But the important factor at this point is we have to reconnect with people as people. Okay, now, once you start doing that, you'll see that things start to change. There will be some rough spots because many of you are so used to being on your own, to being addicted to technology. Now, yes, I'm using technology here. The key factor from your standpoint is if you ever run into me in person, you'll find I'm exactly the same way. This is who I am, which is why this is a live recording. Okay, when I get finished this recording, first and foremost, I don't change anything. Hiccups, bumps, mistakes that I make, you see all of it. Okay. When I get done this recording, I double check the date, make sure I got the date right, and then publish it and then post it as is. Now, you will find hiccups in this transitional period. You're used to going in one direction. But think of a bucket of water. If you take a bucket of water and you fill it, and you then take a spoon and you start spinning in it counterclock or clockwise, you'll get it going to a real nice, comfortable speed, and it'll develop a little bit of a vortex in the center of it. That's where you are right now. It is self-perpetuating. It continues going. However, once that happens, okay, you're going around this way, which is fine. But when you finally get that impetus here to change it, now you're going to stop and go back the other direction. Now, as you can well imagine, you've already got all this current. Going back, you're going to do this sort of thing. You're going to try and move the other direction and be pushed back. It will be sort of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. But it's going to require everybody's cooperation. So take the time. It's going to require persistence to make this happen. But we're only talking one meal out of the day. We're not talking about having to spend all your time. We're not going back to this issue of everybody sits there, the parents are the only ones talking. It is imperative that adults and kids alike get a chance to talk about what they're going through. Now, for instance, many adults have forgotten what it's like to be a child or what it's like to be a teenager. I kid you not. I had a client years ago. People are told that relationships get easier as you get older. Well, I beg to differ on that. No, I don't beg. I'll just tell you, you're flat out mistaken. Okay, and those of you that have reached the older years are undoubtedly finding you've got the same problems you had when you were younger. Okay, you may have matured in your ability to communicate, but the stress involved in many of these things is just as complicated, and it does require, I didn't realize it myself. When mom and dad passed, I looked at it and went, I didn't get a chance to really get things sorted out. It wasn't until my dad was on his deathbed that mom and dad turned around and told me that they actually believed what I'd been through and that it was accurate. Now, my life is more like science fiction than anything else. Okay. But that didn't quite sink in enough because I did not reconnect with my older brother. Okay. And I never had a falling out with him, just our lives went 2 different directions. Where I am now, with my older brother passing, you come to understand one very important thing. Time is, the amount of time that your body will hold up is limited. Okay. So, what I am encouraging you to do, whatever caused the separation between you people, between you and those that you care about, be they friends, be they family, it doesn't matter. Do not wait for them to reach out. Make the effort to reach out, and this is where the working around the dining room table is. Okay, where it comes to the family, you may have gone 2 very different directions. Okay, I see this most often in adults and teenagers, but it's very visible if you understand what you're looking for to realize the guy's still sitting in the high chair. As long as they're able to talk, even you're talking your 2-3-year-olds that are able to talk, let them have their say, because I'll tell you, a child, it may seem very mild to you, but a child figuring out how to climb up on a chair or how to climb up a staircase safely, that is a monumental thing for them. Okay, you may look at it and just be taking it for granted because, as I had to tell my own mother one day, these techniques, we were talking about computers, and it applies to life. These techniques I'm offering are very simple to follow once you get them down. But it is going to be an issue of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, in all likelihood. So, start off with the dining room table. Okay, once you've got that moving, and in all fairness, this can all overlap, including the video I was doing that I did yesterday. Okay, I swore I was going to get myself organized. I finally got an idea in my head as to how to get things done. And, well, here I am. It's time to get the family unit back together, and then, in tandem with that, get the clutter out of the house. And clutter does not mean you got to get rid of your stuff. If you happen to have a materialistic bend, which most of you do, I'm not telling you to get rid of your stuff. I'm saying get it organized. Once you get it organized, you'll find the energy in your house is running so much more smoothly Net result, your stress level collapses and your ability to cope with things improves immensely. Neat little side effect here. If you've got an addiction, they are a royal pain, and most of the time they happen to be a physical addiction, not just a mental one. But things like alcohol and drugs do not make things easier to cope with, because what they actually do is knock out trained and learned inhibitors, meaning your coping mechanism goes out the window. But as you reunite the family, as you start to get to know each other once again, possibly for the first time, okay, once you get to that point, you'll find you've got the support. As long as you've got communication going and it's two-way. This is not just one person, regardless of whether talking head of the household or we're talking one of the kids that is just forceful enough to take control. Understand, the family unit is a microcosm of the world situation. We straighten out the family unit, we're straightening out the core of the problem. That will inevitably, it will be a long drawn out process. We have taken centuries to dig ourselves into this pit. It is time to take as little time as we can to straighten it back out. Once it starts to shift in your home, you'll be able to see this. You'll be able to take that message out to other people simply by your actions. Okay, now I will tell you one topic that's going to come up in your family. And I was always brought up to believe, don't talk to your kids about your current finances. They don't need the stress. I'm telling you, they do. And here's why I'm telling you that. By letting your kids know what your finances are actually like, okay, they will come to understand why you can't get everything they desire, or how much effort you're putting in to get them what they desire. In any event, if you don't teach them while they're at home, you're condemning them to learn for themselves out in the real world, and they will make mistakes. Okay. Now it's up to you. I cannot make these changes for you. I can only tell you that they are absolutely imperative. Okay, absolutely critical. And the only way they happen is if you put the effort into them. Now, I am working on a number of projects I will continue working on, but it is absolutely imperative that you turn around and start making this. That 3-point stand, the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room. That is the backbone of your home. Okay, and we start with the dining room table. 1 meal a day. Now, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.